Let's talk about the kids, and everybody wants their kids to not go without and to have great things. But is there a line of excess? Maria Lucé joins us this morning. Maria is a parenting specialist. Maria, thanks for joining us on Memphis Morning News. I love the title of this. Entitle Mania makes it seem like we're wrestling with trouble.
Are we raising spoiled kids? We don't even have to start to talk to you for me to know the answer is yes.
Exactly. I'm so happy to be with y'all. Good morning. I'm on my second cup of coffee, so I'm ready to go. I like to call it affluenza or, the entitled mania, or frankly, it's me.
A Minosaurus.
And that's all the kids know.
So what happened, or really the bigger question is, if you have a kid, a grandkid, a niece or a nephew, but more specifically your own kids, because maybe you have an opportunity to correct it, because if you're a grandparent, you're spoiling kids all the time anyway. But what can you do if you have found yourself in this position and you kind of look back and say, maybe my kid is not quite as polite or not quite as gracious or not quite as appreciative of things as they should be? What do you do at this point as they begin to get older?
Well, and that's a great question because it depends on their age. Now, one of the things I do say is, can you unfry bacon? Well, no, but this depends on whether or not we're talking about a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, 12 even, but 17, and probably some of the damage has been done. And what that means is that we're setting up our kids not necessarily to fail, but to think that the world revolves, it's their world, and then we're just lucky to be a part of it.
It's funny.
What that does is then, when it comes to jobs, relationships, their education, everything going forward, they do expect that it's about them. And guess what? The real life isn't about that.
And you think you're not going to be the parent who does that at all, but it happens, whether you mean for it to or not.
It happens. I mean, look, social media, reality TV, the technology that's going on. I mean, just our culture can set them up. But over-parenting is the biggest issue. But look, everything is not lost. There are things to do. This is one of the things I talk about at theempoweredmom.com, is that we can expect more from our kids. And it can start from toddlers to teens, and they can contribute in the household in little ways. Picking up their plate and taking it to the sink, making their bed. Those things may seem small, but they really they're not just chores that they get paid for. They can get paid for extra chores. They're contributing to the household. And look, this helps them learn life skills. I mean, we have to give up on giving in to our kids.
About a year ago, my wife came up with the idea of doing a little bit of a checklist for my daughter, who's now, she's just a little bit older than 4, but a checklist of bring me some of the dishes, bring me the forks and the spoons to put in the dishwasher, which of course, it's a little less tedious than, separating them once you take them out. Check them off for a week, and then I'll give you an allowance of X number of dollars to go to the toy store, and you can pick out something of your choice. And we found that it has been such a blessing to give her responsibility because it gives her a role too, Maria. It's incredible.
It empowers her. It really does. She feels like, even though, so when kids get a little older, they're like, oh, okay, whatever. They roll their eyes. They don't want to do it. But guess what? They are part of the household. It's just like this whole thing of, I tell my kids, okay, you don't get a trophy just for using oxygen.
Right.
You just don't. And when we give our kids that responsibility, that does make them feel more empowered. And then when you expect more from your kids, I guarantee you, not only are they going to do it, but they're going to probably exceed it.
Tim's in a different parenting place than me. His child is 4, mine are 14 and 17. And I feel like we started out early doing the things that Tim's talked about. But somewhere along the line, sometimes I look at my kids now and say, hey, I am your mom. I'm not your maid. I said, pick up after yourself.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I hear you. I hear you. But don't give up on continuing to do that, even though he's 17. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it's still, keep up, because I mean, we all feel like we're pulling our hair out sometimes, but we have to continue to hold them to a higher standard and empower them. And that's what we do at the Empowered Mom. Join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you.
Maria Lucé, Luce. Follow Maria Lucé. You heard her, Empowered Mom. Thank you so much for joining us on Memphis Morning News. And I will steal and repeatedly use "You can't unfry that bacon," and I'll use it, and I'll say it with a southern
I love being with y'all.
and with a southern twang. You can't unfry that bacon.
can't
That's what
unfry it.
I'm gonna say it in a southern twang.
Did I have that twang? I can do a little more.
Bring it on.
No,
Bring on the twang.
no,
No, we've got the twang.
No, I'm just saying it sounds like Southern wisdom. I don't know where you're at right now, Maria. It just sounds like Southern wisdom. It's like, I declare, you cannot
I'm in
unfry that
Dallas.
bacon.
We're in Memphis, so we're glad to talk to you.
We love it. We love it.
Thanks, Maria.
Entitlemania, the topic right now. Are we raising spoiled kids? Parenting specialist Maria Lucé, our guest right now. My question, Maria, once you recognize that the kid is indeed spoiled, has this entitlement mentality, can you undo that? Can you unspoil a kid?
Good morning, love being with you. That's a great question. I like to refer to this question as, can you unfry bacon?
Can you put toothpaste back in the tube?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that right? Is that all over?
It's really,
okay, the answer
it
is
can't be that
no.
bad. It can't be that bad, Maria. It can't be as bad as unscrambling an egg.
No.
No.
Yeah, the answer is no. There are things you can do to change it. Now, okay, let's talk about it, because it depends on if we're talking about a 4-year-old, 14-year-old, or an 18-year-old.
Ooh, scary,
Right?
Scary to think, yeah. Now, if by 18 you haven't done it, it's way too late. Mom and Dad, they're not going to do anything at 18. They're set in their ways.
Well, a lot of times because by that time they think, okay, it is my world and you're lucky to be in it. Well, guess what? That's not the real world. So we want to set up our kids, for success, and that doesn't do it. But it can start from toddlers to teens when they're just contributing to the household and they're picking up their plate from the dinner table and moving it to the sink, or helping load the dishwasher, or making their beds. I mean, it sounds like small things that don't make a difference, but every day it does. And you're laying a groundwork for not just helping around the house, but also for life skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are things you can do. I mean, we need to expect more from our kids, because guess what? When we do expect more, they usually meet that or exceed that. And then this is what we talk about on the empoweredmom.com all the time. Join in the conversation. I'd love to hear from you, as a matter of fact, we just have to shut down the ATM, number one. They need to contribute to the household by being a part of it. We have to lay the groundwork early.
Yeah, 10-4. Maria Lucé, parenting specialist, joining us on 710 KUR.
Maria, I just met a girl named Maria. How are you?
Oh, my goodness. I love the way you sing that, and I love being on with you.
Maria Lucé is a parenting specialist. We try and get some tidbits of information because, in my opinion, I don't think there's anything you can do better if you are a good spouse and a wonderful parent. I think that you've done a really good job. It's a critical, I think, a hugely important thing is the way our society works. We see so much breaking of the foundation, and you see all the trouble we have. We're trying to be better parents, better spouses, to do it all right. Maria, are we spoiling our children, and how do we know if we are?
When they're stomping their feet at 4, it's one thing, but when they're stomping their feet at 12 and 15 and demanding a phone better than you have, yes. Overall, I believe it's cultural.
Okay.
We are.
So yay, we messed up. Now what?
Okay, yeah. How do we rein it back?
Well, let's look at some of the things that add to it, okay? I mean, social media, reality TV, technology, and just the ability to, get an award for no reason. My boys, I have the 3 boys within 21 months, the set of twins in there, and my boys hate it when I say, you don't get a trophy just for using oxygen. And this is our society right now.
I know, but we're so sensitive. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
I know, right? But the thing is that what we're doing is we're actually, instead of empowering them, we're harming them. We think we're doing it. And guess what? We're not supposed to be our kids' friends. We're supposed to be our kids' parents. If they don't like us because we discipline them, so sad. That's our job.
Yeah.
But there are things to do. A lot of it's cultural. I mean, just like I said, the trophy for just being part of the team. How about earning something?
No, you're right. I've said it before. If I give away a pair of tickets, people may or may not use them, but if they do a paper route and earn it, they're going to go to the concert.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the responsibility, and when they have a part ownership in it because they worked for it, even though they may not, it may be gnashing of teeth when they're doing the job for it. In the end, they're going to have more respect for whether it's a thing or an event. They're going to have more respect because they had part and parcel of earning it.
Maria, I recently did an article and talked about how 70% of teenagers used to have jobs back in the day, and now that's gone down to 20% of teenagers. It could be because we're doing more life enrichment stuff, the summer camps, the college for kids, different vacation Bible school, where they just don't have time to work. But that has certainly changed the scope of kids getting a job later in life and learning the responsibility and earning money. What's your comments on that?
And I love that. You're so right. I mean, part of it is, when you're signing their birth certificate, you better be signing their college, admissions at the same time in this culture. And so a lot of parents think that, they don't need jobs. What they need is, they need to be going to tutoring, and they need to be doing select sports, and they need to be doing this so that, we can up it and up it and up it. But frankly, if they were at the grocery store and bagging groceries, I bet they would have more of a investment in their own future, including their own college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. Well, yeah. To get it going, to get it started.
But all is not lost.
It's not.
All is not lost. Parents can do a lot to help. And it's not just about actually the work. It's about teaching life skills.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I mean, should we do a chore chart then and then hold them accountable? Did you do the chore right when you get home from work? That sort of thing?
Well, I will say I do have a chore chart on our refrigerator. Okay, and we go through it, and like every family, we argue about it and go, no, it was his day. It was his day. Okay, that's reality. However, there are some things I believe that are chores that that are extras to get paid for. Okay. When it's feeding the dog or making your bed or loading the dishwasher,
right?
That's part of being a household.
Yeah. Maria, where do people find you? Where's Maria Lucé? Where do they find you?
They can find me at theempoweredmom.com. In fact, I'll have the blog up today. Y'all can link, I'm sure, on your site to it for more tips for parents on this topic. And then join the conversation. I'm The Empowered Mom on Twitter, The Empowered Mom on Instagram, The Empowered Mom on Snapchat. It's The Empowered Mom page on Facebook. It's essentially just The Empowered Mom.
Yeah, good.
And we all need it.
Yeah.
We all need the help.
Good work, Maria. Thank you, as always.
Love being with y'all.
That's Maria Lucé, parenting specialist, The Empowered Mom.
How spoiled are your kids? Do you have spoiled kids? Are your kids spoiled rotten? Apparently, now there is a new phrase that is being posed for kids and even some of the late millennials, and that is entitled mania. And the suggestion is that as a culture, we're raising a bunch of spoiled kids, with parents caving in for all sorts of reasons. You're at a store, you're at a restaurant, you want things to be hassle-free, and it's a lot easier saying yes than it is saying no. In a parents' poll, 42% of readers admitted that their child is spoiled, and 80% think that spoiling kids now will affect them long term. Duh. Really? You think? And if your child acts entitled, what do you do about it? Let's talk to parenting specialist Maria Lucé. She's on the phone. And Maria, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you. I like the way you say that, Maria Lucé. I like the way you did that.
Well, thank you.
And I also liked your duh moment.
Yeah.
I mean, kids know if they're, parents know if kids are spoiled or not.
And, they say, well, if we spoil them, it'll affect them long term. Well, duh. Of course it will. Which, leads to the question, if you know it's going to affect them long term, why are you doing it now? And is it mostly because it's just, easier to say yes than it is to say no? Or is it that the kids know that all they have to do is go through so many no's until they get a yes?
It's both. So I would say yes to the no. I mean, I have one, and it's different from child to child. I have 3 boys within 21 months. So there's a set of twins in there. But I can tell you from personality to personality, it's different. One of my boys, since he was like 3 years old and could talk, I'm like, what law school are you applying to? Because you will debate me and wear me down. But the thing is, we can't do that as parents. We have to give up on giving in.
Okay. So let's say that you have a kid who is spoiled. And let's say your kid is 12, 13 years old. How do you go about trying to unspoil them after spending all of these years basically giving in to their whims? Besides just going, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, great question. What I would say in some instances is, can you unfry bacon? Right, the toothpaste is already out of the tube. Well, that depends on the age. If they're 5, 10, 12, yes, there are absolutely things parents can do, and this is what we talk about on the Empowered Mom, and in the community, that's the conversation we have. If they're 18, I think the bacon is cooked.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is that, unfortunately, they're going to learn it in a hard way that the world does not revolve around them. So there are things we can do from toddlers to teens. Little things that contributing to the household, being a member of the household, making their bed, taking their plate from the table to the sink, having chores, not necessarily that they get paid for, like feeding the dog. Mm-hmm. That's part of being a member of a household. Right. It's like, my kids hate it when I say this, but I do. I'm like, you don't get a trophy just because you use oxygen. But right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
no, it's true.
Culture these days.
Mm-hmm. Well, then you bring up an interesting point, and I want to circle back on it for a second. You said you take your dishes to the sink, you make your bed, you feed the dog. What are the things that you would suggest then that they do if they're going to have an allowance?
I would suggest extra chores, things that need to be done. Let's say helping clean out the garage or organizing the garage, helping with the yard work, if you don't have that, outsourced already, because so many things are outsourced, or
right.
People have maids, and they're like, oh, no, the maid can do it. Well, no, that's not reality, and most people don't.
Right. Well, I'm going to assume
on Instagram, it looks like it. On social media, it looks like it. On reality TV, it looks like it. But that's not reality.
Well, right. And I was just going to say, I would imagine that probably most of our listeners don't have a maid. And,
right.
So then what you're saying is, for an allowance, it's all the extra stuff.
And I didn't get an allowance. This is just one thing I'm going to add out there, and parents can decide this. I didn't get an allowance for getting good grades. That was what was expected. We better come home with straight A's. I'm a military brat, so that was just, you didn't not come home without straight A's.
What would happen
if we do, if the kids are working extra hard and they get good, excellent grades, then we will, encourage that. monetarily.
Out of
or
curiosity, what would happen
extra-
if you didn't get the straight A's? What would happen to you?
When I grew up?
Yeah.
Oh, well, being military, well, we just didn't. We would get in trouble. And I was scared. Well, I was an Air Force brat. You didn't say no to Dad. It wasn't an era where kids were running the household, right? I mean, but you do your best. That's just one example. There's lots of things, and what we have to remember is that we're raising the groundwork for kids from the beginning, and we need to kind of stop rescuing them and expect more. Because, as we all know, if we have, let's say, a financial stake in something, or even a work, you put work into something, then we know that we feel more proud, they're more empowered, let's say they helped buy their phone, for example, however you chose to do it, then they're going to take care of it better, don't you think, than if they were just handed a brand new phone?
Yeah, if you've got ownership in it and you've spent money on it, then you're going to take better care of it.
And there are things that parents can do. I mean, it's not a lost cause. But we can help our kids and we can empower our kids. And I'm sure y'all probably will have a link up on this because I will have those tips on theempoweredmom.com. And things to do to prevent that from happening. Or even if you have started it, how you can reverse it.
It is 11:21. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Brian Mudd Show. And here's one for you. And the answer is yes, right? Are we raising spoiled kids? Yes. I know a lot of us see evidence of it. And to talk about it, we have our parenting expert and empowered mom, Maria Lucé, on the line with us. And Maria, this is a conversation that my wife and I have with our friends with regularity. We were not able to have kids. We have furry kids instead, but many of our friends do. And this seems to be a constant battle to try to figure out how to strike that balance between doing what you would like to do for your kids without taking it too far and having that entitlement mentality. So thank you for joining us, and interested to hear your thoughts.
I am so happy to be with you. And just remember, those furry kids are your kids, too.
Amen. Amen.
So there you go. You know what? And you're right. Are kids spoiled today? It's almost like a rhetorical question.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, because yes, they are. Are there things you can do about it? Yes. Here's some of the things that I believe that contribute to it. Generations ago, kids used to have to stop school and help on the farm, literally for the family to survive. That's not our culture these days.
Right.
And what is part of our culture that is feeding into this entitlement mania is social media, reality TV, technology, and some parents being able to provide. Or, in some cases, frankly, not able to provide, but they want to keep up and want to make sure their kids have everything. When in the meantime, what they're really doing is hurting their kids.
So how do you know what that tipping point is?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's not a general overall question. There are tips, and I'm sure that y'all will put this link up because you'll link to my blog on The Empowered Mom where we talk about this exact thing. But look, if you have a child that has literally no work ethic and expects things to be done, listen, and obviously it's age dependent, right? I mean, it depends if we're talking a 4-year-old or if we're talking a 14-year-old or 18-year-old. I mean, if it's happening by 18, can you unfry bacon? Right? I mean, I think
so what you're saying is the ship has sailed if they're entering young adulthood, and that tendency has been baked in, huh?
Well, and then but there are things you can do even at 10 or at 14 that you can undo if you have spoiled kids. And remember, this is not necessarily a fault on the parents. They may not even be realizing that they're doing it. So there are things that we can do to reverse it. But we really do have to, expect more of our kids. Listen, this can start early as toddlers. I mean, making their bed and picking their plate up from the dinner table, helping load the dishwasher, picking up their toys, it starts very small, but contributing to the household because you're a part of it is crucial, because they're not only helping and then helping their own self-esteem, and they're learning life skills. When
So
we
that's
hold our kids
interesting.
to a higher standard, they're
Yeah.
gonna meet it.
So what you're saying is that the kind of work ethic and expectations set by the parents are part of the conversation. It's not just a financial consideration or an expectation to get the latest iPhone, for example, that plays into it.
Exactly. I mean, what my kids hate when I say this, I have 3 boys within 21 months, and there's a set of twins in there. But they don't like it when I actually parent. Sorry, kids, that's my job. But when I say, you don't get a trophy just because you use oxygen.
Amen.
And that's kind of the mentality of our world and our culture these days. But I think as parents, there are so many things we can do. And let's just talk about, even if you can afford, let's say it's a 14-year-old, okay?
All right.
And they want the newest iPhone. And they say to you, well, you can afford it. Well, here's a good response, which is an empowering response for them to realize this and life lessons. You could say, yes, I can afford it. Does that mean that you just should get it? No, I can afford it because we worked for it, which is what you need to do.
I like where you're coming from, and this is all up on your blog, and you're the empowered mom, and so that's some great advice that we can point to, because I think you raised such an important and an interesting point, and I hear my dad in you as well about it doesn't matter what the means are.
I
it's
hear
a
my
matter
parents
of work
in me
ethic.
too, just so
No,
you know.
it's great. I wish that everybody were handling their kids the way that you're talking about. So the empowered mom, go check it out, get that information, and you can blame it on Maria if your kids are.
Yeah, please, yeah, and just go to theempoweredmom.com, and we'll discuss all of this. Join the conversation. I have so much enjoyed being with you.
Thank you very much, Maria Lucé, the empowered mom, and we certainly do appreciate the time. Thank you for raising some kids that are probably going to be well adjusted in this world. We need all we can get.
Hopefully, it's all
Yeah.
prayer. Let's just pray,
you got
right?
it. Yep, you bet.